That's all I can say. All right. We got to get started because you got stuff you got to do as well. So
yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. Hello, my name's James Piecowye. Welcome to PODAHOLIKS, and this is the We Will Fix It show with Colin Thomas, which means if there is anything possibly not working correctly around you, anything from your car to your kitchen sink to the door to your neighbor's tweezers, this man will be able to sort you out. This is the We Will Fix It show with Colin Thomas.
Did I mention I'm feeling extremely incompetent today? And then you go and deliver that one. I couldn't identify one of those things I could help with right now, so this is going to be quite entertaining. Let's see where we go, James. There could be problems ahead.
Hey, we're fixing stuff, right? That's all that matters. So here I'm wondering about, you got you're drinking now. What is that? 7-Up or Mountain Dew? No, you got the 7-Up. And I'm wondering how many people have been on Zoom calls and they've used their water bottle as a sort of a truck driver's friend.
It's a cutting point. For me, it's been such a crazy morning. We're shooting a new promo video. So we've had all the camera guys in today. We've had Claire, our wonderful marketing manager, who's been desperately trying to feed us the lines that she wants us to regurgitate. And we've been terrible. I don't know how she's put up with it. Years gone by, I've been live on BBC World at 7 a.m, badly under the weather after a big night out. Talking about various, shootings and gaming and all that kind of stuff, and absolutely on it. And these days, all she wants is 3 sentences, and it's not happening. So it's been one of those days. And now coming into a podcast where supposedly I've got to be coherent and talking about something related to maintenance for the next hour, I'm slightly worried. I've got to say, James, I'm slightly worried. And then I get that intro.
Hey, but this is an interesting one, right? Because your guy's job is fixing stuff. And here you are spending an enormous amount of time making sure you get your socials right. You're throwing up the videos. You obviously get together and use these podcasts as well. We do them for the greater good. You also use them on your site. Isn't it incredible how many other things now become part of the core business?
And probably 5 years ago, none of that was part of the core business. We put it under the general term of voodoo. So we just did radio. That was it. And everything worked and nothing else was really needed. We had a bit of Facebook and literally that was all we did. And then you look at it now. But, the fascinating thing, James, that comes with that is we used to, on the other flip side of that, from the customer perspective, we used to just take phone calls over the phone. Now we have... not just, even in those days, email. We never got bookings via email. We got queries. That was it. It was never I'm ready to book, so I'll email you. So that never happened. Facebook, Messenger, Facebook posts. We have, in fact, I think we've even got Snapchat now. I've never understood that for the life of me. We've definitely got Instagram. I've got that one. Yeah. What else have we got? Oh, we've got, so we can WhatsApp now to make a booking. We've also got Talk2, which is the one where we are genuinely on the other end of that, but live instant messenger as well. And when you look at the breakdown of how jobs are booked, it's quite an even split. Obviously, there's still a kind of a direction towards telephone, but it's just unbelievable that now, to be successful, customers are expecting you to communicate with a method that most suits them. And if you don't have that method, that booking isn't going to occur. So you're absolutely right. I mean, your job has become 5 times bigger and more important than it ever was in the past because it's like an explosion now. I mean, look at this. You and I are on Zoom. I mean, I didn't know what Zoom was 4 months ago. I only just found out that we've got Dynamics 365 and Office 365. And it was only like 2 months ago when I realized that we're actually able to use Teams without actually having to pay for it. It's nuts, the times and how things are, James. It really is. But the job, actually getting back to your original point, our job is basically to do exactly that, which is communicate in the way that people would like us to communicate with them. And so we're constantly trying to work out what that is and to go with the market and how people want to talk to us.
Interesting one that I was reflecting on this week, because, and we'll come back to this in a second, because I had the folks come in best in town to do a repair. And this feeds right back into what you guys always talk about, is you guys do a very specific set of jobs.
Yes.
If you don't do those jobs, you know some people that you personally use that you might recommend. And if you don't know anyone you recommend, you don't. And you just say, hey, that's not our thing. Who do you recommend? It's like, honestly, there's a lot of folks out there. There's no one that comes to mind at this point, but and I remember talking to you about this. I had a little dishwasher issue, and the core problem was the dishwasher was shorting out the main panel of the house.
Yes.
And so your suggestion was, hey, open that thing up, check out to make sure that the filter's not plugged. Did that, filter wasn't plugged, turn it back on, goes for about 5 minutes, boom, and it was taking out the router. So this is no good, because there you are, it was plugged into the circuit that was doing that. So that was no good. Called these guys best in town, get them on the phone, and have a quick chat. What is it? Dishwasher. What's it doing? Yeah. Okay. We, they basically, they look at everything on the phone. They say, yep. And at this point I'm thinking, is this a WeWillFixIt company? Like, is this one of your companies? Cause it was sounding a lot like you guys. And I'm just going, interesting. And then that's when I wrote you back right away and said, do you guys own this company or something? No, separate deal. Anyway. Yeah. Guys come, I got to say, and the first thing you premised it with is you prefaced the recommendation, and you said, just be warned, not necessarily the cheapest folks on the block.
Yep.
And so I took that in, and it was good. It was 150 dirhams. They came to do an inspection, and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm happy to pay 150 dirhams to find out if this is going to be repairable or not. Maybe they can do it at the house, maybe not. Actually, they couldn't. They came, they looked, they said, we got to take this thing with us. And at which point I'm just going, great. I'm not going to see this machine for weeks. 3 hours later, I get a phone call. Okay, we're ready to bring it back.
Right. I love that. Yeah. It was the same for me.
I'm going, what? What do you mean you're ready to bring it back? And then the guy brings it back and he says, okay, the final bill, it was the heater coil. He said, this is very common.
Heater coil, that's unusual.
There's a heater coil in dishwashers. And when it goes, it then shorts out. It'll short, because it causes a short. And because I guess it uses quite a bit of electricity to heat that thing up.
Yeah.
So, and the guy said, oh, yeah, it's pretty common, actually. This happens quite a bit with machines.
That's interesting. With dishwashers, it's almost always either pump or the control board.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to know, or that's what was my perception.
Yeah.
So, heating coils are an interesting one, because in all reality, it's just a lump of metal with resistance that therefore creates heat. And that's the big premise that you're dealing with. So the fact that it was that shorts out is really interesting.
And I like the fact that, they came and got it. They came back, made the payment. And so I was under the impression that it was 150 dirhams to give it a nice inspection. Then they're going to do the parts and labor. This is the parts and labor bill, and your 150 is on top. And then so the guy comes and says, here's the bill, and I go, okay, well here, so I give him the cash, and he goes, oh no, but you already paid 150. I'm going, what? He's going,
we do exactly the same. Yeah.
But I love this.
Somebody has the wherewithal to actually make that decision, which is, I'm going to have these people inside my house. The whole point of that diagnosis fee is just to cover your time for having been there. If they then decide to continue with you and do the repair, then at that point, you've got efficiency, because you know what the problem is going to be. You know you're not going to be wasting your time going there. So then you can cover that back on the bill as well. We do this all the time. It's a total standard in the industry.
Yeah.
And so it should be as well.
And for me, the bonus was because I was willing to pay the 150 up front anyway, and just take that as a loss, because, hey, they came and got it, they fixed it, and they brought it back. I loved it. The guy said, it might take us a day. 3 hours, they're back at my door. I'm thinking, this is the best service ever. And the guys actually did a nice little service on it too. So they, I said, hey, can you check the rubbers? And they did, and they replaced something, and they did that. And then they told me that I didn't use my dishwasher correctly and said, make sure you put salt in it. And I'm going, what? And they go, I've never used salt. He goes, oh, you need salt, sir. This is where it goes. And we've put some in for you. It's like,
huge amounts in, don't you? It's unbelievable. It takes almost a kilo, or my one does. It takes almost a kilo of salt when you put it in there, but at least it lasts for kind of 2 to 3 months normally. So
why do you put salt in it? Like they were saying, it softens the water so it cleans better or something? Like I have no idea.
Michael. Yeah, it helps to rinse everything off better, to my knowledge.
All
It
right.
could be miles out, but that was my understanding. Well, wait a second. In which case, what's rinse aid for?
Exactly. I don't know.
We need a guest on the show who knows what they're talking about dishwashing.
But, you know, the guy was pretty adamant that I need to put salt in it, so I'm going to get the salt. He even told me where to buy it in the grocery store. He said, oh, which grocery store do you go to? I said, Carrefour. He goes, it's in this aisle and it's right beside these tablets that you're using. I said, really?
It's an interesting one. We've been asked for years about appliances and taking them on. And it's always been, well, you know, so many spare parts and all that kind of thing would make it quite difficult to do. But, you know, maybe we should look at that again, because you're right. They do a really nice job of it. And if you could do it well, then there's a good business there, without a doubt. Something to think about for sure.
The other one that came to mind with these guys, and you must have experienced this because We Will Fix It and more recently Essential Maintenance, but you would have experienced this with the We Will Fix It when you started, is remember when we first moved here and you would get anything delivered to your apartment or villa and you had I remember having physical maps that I'd written out with waypoints and, you know, and now everything's WhatsApp. Every driver, you got WhatsApp. Can you pin me? And they know, you know, and then it goes right into their Google map or their Waze or whatever. What a change from and I think for probably the first 10 years, I had a paper map that I would give people.
It's really too. It's wonderful, isn't it? And the thing I just still can't get my head around with Google Maps is how did somebody come up with it as I've got this great idea. What we're going to do, boss, is before we get any money for anything, we're going to send a car that's going to go up and down every street in the world. Wouldn't you have thought that would be a really short meeting? Okay, straight to HR. You need some padded walls on this one, you know?
Yeah.
The right moment, I've got a great idea, boss. There's no money in it. However, we're going to map everything. Oh, and by the way, not only are we going to map it, we're going to take pictures of everything as well.
Yeah.
How? It's amazing. But it's all that way as well. I'm not going into just how bad the villa situation is right now, which is horrific. However, one of the fascinating things was recently I was kind of looking on, we have something called Rightmove in the UK. I don't know whether or not you have anything similar.
I've never heard of that.
Well, I went from Google Maps and I found my grandmother's place that I had really early memories of. She died when I was 7, but we had just so many happy memories. And this is literally on this tiny little street, road alongside a river out in the countryside in South Wales. And I just thought, I wonder whether or not I can track down where it is and have a look on Google Maps to just see the outside of the place and bring back a few lovely memories. Anyway, 30 seconds later, I've gone and found the place. I'm absolutely just blown away. I've actually got
30 seconds.
30 seconds, yeah. And I've got this view of the place and it looks almost identical. I just couldn't believe it. So I thought, I wonder if there's anything else about this house that I had all these memories from. So I plugged the details into the internet and up comes Rightmove, sold 7 years ago, and they got the photos of all of the interior.
Wow.
I was 3 when I last remembered that particular picture. And to be able to look through it, and you just think, you know, the internet is wonderful. There's so many things that are more important. But for me, that was just absolute magic. It really was. And obviously sent it all around the family going, oh, look at this. Remember, you know? And that's one of the wonderful things. And again, this is all stuff that I still don't understand Google and how they make money. And I know that they do from the advertising that we do and whatever, but it just doesn't seem to tally with what they provide for the world, which is something quite extraordinary. Really is.
Yeah. So I know you don't want to go down the route, and it's now become a common theme of the podcast. How's the house hunting going?
Horrific.
It's
utterly horrific. There's just the options basically seem to be to go to a property that has just been left to rot, but to such a degree that I don't think I can easily get it back to the kind of level that we would want it to be without major investment.
Oh, man.
And if I can't do it, not many people could. I mean, I just can't believe how some people live. And, that's their right without a doubt, but it's not something I really want to walk into. Late last night, we'd been working for 24 hours on the original property that all fell to pieces. They then couldn't sell it, so we went back in for another chat. They said, yeah, give us 24 hours to think on it. Late last night, they pulled the plug on that. They definitely do want to sell it. So I was kind of ready to go on that. We've talked before about the numbers of the stages of design and stages of contract, so that would have been great. One option next week, and everything else is a severe compromise. But where are we now? We're on the 1st of July. Rick and the boys from MacPack are booked for the 29th and 30th. So I have 29 days before we are homeless.
Hey, you know what? In some terms, that is a crisis, but in Dubai terms, you got a lot of time still.
Yeah, I know in Dubai terms, but then the issue is, for some reason, there don't seem to be the vacant properties that are coming onto the market. There are properties where the families are moving out in 6 weeks, 8 weeks. So at best, I think I'm going to end up with a hole and I need to fill that. There are plenty of options, but needs filling and just frustrating to have to do 2 moves. But more than anything, now that I've kind of pushed the family down this route, there's no point settling for second best. Yeah. And if it means you're going to go into something temporarily, I think that will be the route. But I really hope something comes out the bag and quick.
Like you said, you've got all of the real estate people in the country looking for you.
Yeah, I know. But it's becoming stressful now. And, we don't need that. We really don't. But then, you know what, James, as people have said to me many times recently, so many people have got so many worse situations that they're dealing with right now. And really, I need to stop moping around about it and just get on with it. And trying. But, we've all got our own issues, haven't we? It's just getting through to me right now, I've got to say. Oh, man, it's just not what I'm doing. And Natalie was perfectly happy to stay, and I made the decision, and it's on me, and it was the wrong decision. And it's kind of the morning wake up now, which is, admit you were wrong. And I scream, I was wrong. And then off I scuttle somewhere where she's not going to be, hoping that I'm going to get away with it for at least another hour. And, she's right. She's absolutely literally right. I shouldn't have done it, but I did. So I didn't have to move out of the current place. And there's very nice new tenants, without a doubt. And they bought the container pergola as well, bless them. So, which they absolutely loved, which was great, good of them.
Salt in the wounds, though.
Yeah, I know, it is extremely painful. They're lovely people. They're really lovely people. So I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic family home for them.
What about moving in with Simon for a temporary? He's got a pool.
He has got a pool. Well, you know what? I kind of, if Natalie had anything to do with it, I'd live there permanently underwater. But I've got mother-in-law, I've got brother-in-law, or I've got another option that are all potentially feasible. But I don't really want to have to go down that route yet. Luckily, Rick at MacPack is a total legend, a very good friend of mine, and one of those friends who is always there for you when you need them. And he's basically said, look, if we need to store it, don't worry. It's just as easy. I can get that for you. It'll all be fine. So focus on what you need to focus on. Leave this to me, and I'll kind of handle that part of things, which is just wonderful.
That's nice. That is nice.
Yeah, well, they're a great outfit. I don't just say that because they're friends of mine. The only reason, actually, that they're friends of mine is past history of them moving us, my mother-in-law as well, more than once, and just doing a fantastic job. And that tends to be the people that you surround yourself with, isn't it?
Yeah.
And people you're totally in tune with and deliver it when you need it. So, it's the same with Glenn, why do we hang around with Glenn? Well, because Glenn's a really great guy and he's very good at what he does. So I tend to gravitate to people like that, I think.
Oh man, we didn't get to talk with Glenn this week, but you're going to love this one. I got to share this one because this is a repair question that you're going to. So I take the yellow Jeep into him because I've been having trouble with my yellow Jeep for like 2 years now.
Yeah.
And it's basically if my brother does listen to all the shows, by the way. Now he listens to them on his commute. He'll send me videos of him commenting on us talking.
Oh God, really?
Well, there was one with Dr. Jenna where she was talking about feet, and it recently went up, and we were talking about, podiatrists and who knows some other name she used for something. And I interrupted her. I said, Jenna, I've never heard of that. And she's going, well, you wouldn't have heard of it because you're not a little old lady. My brother sends me a recording of him listening to that. And he's going, yes, he is. He's a little old lady.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So it's crazy. Yeah. But where was I even going with that? Why did I bring that up?
It's almost as if this is a maintenance show. No, it's not. This is therapy games.
So it's Glenn. For like 2 years, I've having this issue, and I finally think I'm going to take it to Glenn and get him to look at it. And then Glenn says, well, do you want to leave it? And I'll take a look at it. I'm thinking, you know what? Next time I bring it in for an oil change, I'll get you to check this out. And the problem was, you put your foot on the brake, and then you hit the gear lever, and you push your thumb in on that thing, and then you pull it back. So mine was kind of sticky, and it wouldn't come out. And so Glenn said, oh, we'll do this and whatever. And I think, oh, yeah, okay. So the other day I'm sitting in the driveway and I think, I'm just going to pry up the little emergency lever thing that's on the base by it where you can push your key in to release the gear. So I've got my foot on the brake and I thought I'm just going to push it in and, just move this thing a little bit. I do that, put it all back in. It's never done the sticking again.
Don't you love it when it works out like that? I thought that story was about to go, and then I ended up in Mobile on the driveway.
Well,
It hasn't moved since. And then I give you the number for Ruby, who is the recovery guy that we all use. He must be permanently employed. He's got me with we got 55 odd, so he does all of ours. He's got James, who's another friend of ours with the garage around the corner. He's got Glenn as well. And this is the same guy. I have the same recovery guy that I've used now. He reminded me the other day, it's now 13 years that we've worked, which is nuts. And the fact is, he's never, ever let any of us down. And you need people like that in your life, don't you?
Yeah.
Look one who's it's just done. And it's always done with a big smile on his face. Lovely fella. And Ruby's a complete legend.
So every time you bring up your wife, do you know what story always? So every time you talk about Natalie and you talk, and obviously when you're in the doghouse and now you're in the doghouse with the housing thing, and I keep thinking, man, you've probably been in the doghouse for years now because there's one story that you told about your wife with you and Dan that always sticks in the back of my mind. And every time you mention her, this story is in the back of my head. Can you imagine which one it is?
Do you know what? The list is so... I think the common theme is I'm in trouble, but I normally deserve it. That's the common running theme.
Do you remember when you moved her shelving unit?
No, that's Dan's wife, Tina.
Oh, that was Dan's wife.
Yeah.
That was your wife.
That wasn't Natalie, that was Tina. That was a hell of a moment, that. IKEA flat pack furniture. And literally having to go back up to the flat after. So basically, this was a double wardrobe. The job for us to do was to move it between her old property that she was moving out of and Dan's place that she was moving into. It was at that stage in their courting relationship. And Dan had already taken a look at it and said, yeah, of course we knew that. Me and Colin will get it all sorted out. And this is before WeWillFixIt, I think, just before. So we must be in 2007 here. And I literally went up to it and I went, Dan, don't you think it's a bit flimsy? He's like, well, I've committed to it now. So we're doing it. There's no way around it. I'm like, okay. So between us, we've got to do this. And there's only the two of us that were involved. So basically, there was a really small doorway to get it out of. And then we had from her bedroom, and we had like an L-shaped corridor to get it around as well. So it wasn't just one comedic moment where this happened. The level of flex kind of increased as we made our way from her room out of the apartment around the L-shaped corridor, and then into the lift was comedic in itself, because literally just trying to get it in there, because this thing was huge, was a problem. And then we got it out of the lift when we already knew we were in deep trouble. We were both having the conversation at that point, which was, I think we're going to have to reconstruct this when we get to the other end. And that was optimistic. We knew we were going to lose the odd bit. And then literally we carried it into the underground car park and walked like 6 feet. And then literally the whole thing imploded. But because it was kind of chipboard, as it kind of fell and it ripped and it just disintegrated. We didn't have one panel that was left in any decent condition for us to reconstruct it. That was dead. D-E-A-D, dead. So then we got Tina upstairs. And I'm kind of thinking, I'm not going to be the one here who actually explains this. He committed to it. So therefore, in you go, Dan. You explain this rather than me. I'll keep my head down. Anyway, and he was trying to explain this to Tina whilst keeping a straight face and me sniggering in the background, and her obviously quite upset that we just destroyed her cupboard. So to kind of ease the pain, Dan actually let rip with, don't worry, I'll get you another one. And at that point, everything was fine. And that's what happened.
There you go. Simple. Probably should have been the root from the very beginning. You know what? Let's just get a new one.
Yeah. If it had been Natalie, she would have insisted that we go downstairs, and I would last have been known running in the opposite direction with bits of cupboard being thrown at my head. Yes. Proper Yorkshire lady there.
Oh, this is getting better. That nice Yorkshire accent as well. Oh,
a very broad South Yorkshire accent, which actually I utterly adore. But it's very unique to the area. Interestingly enough, I spoke to somebody from my that I didn't know, who was actually from very close to my hometown last night, and he could not tell at all where I'm from.
Really?
For Natalie, yeah, it's really obvious that she is South Yorkshire and extremely broad in her accent too.
Huh. You know, one of the things that I'm hearing a lot of people talking about, and it's kind of cool actually, is people are talking about their strategies to keep their little index backyard pools cool.
Yeah, that's a good one, that. So many, these have popped up everywhere, haven't they?
Whoever's selling them is making a killing. It's amazing.
It's quite, well, I think they're mainly Intex, aren't they? Intex and Bestway are the two main brands that everybody and it's making everybody find out how to fix a pool, and more importantly, how not to damage their kids with whatever it is that they're using. There was one comment, and I kid you not, which was, my pool's gone green, can I use bleach? What? Thank God everybody jumped in there really quickly. But that's the kind of level that people are dealing with. And it's also now, which is fascinating, we're kind of about, 8 weeks beyond when people were first able to get these delivered, I think. Yeah. And we're all coming back online as hardly used, which is quite a classic. I love that. But basically, the scenario with this in terms of cooling, which is the bit that I do know a little bit about, you've got two main options, which is, number one, either the ice factories will all deliver blocks to you for 10 dirhams a block, normally 50 dirhams for delivery, minimum of 100, 150 dirhams worth of ice. So the benefits of that are it is an instant fix, or pretty much inside an hour or two. But the negative is everybody doesn't really think about the fact that it only lasts for 24 hours. You're not going to have icebergs floating there for weeks to come. This is a very simple solution. So this is basically the party solution, okay? But even though we're not supposed to be having parties, this is kind of how it works. So, and again, you can use that on a full-size swimming pool as well. You just obviously need to use a heck of a lot more. But again, the issues are, it is a very short-term scenario. You know, if you get a temperature reduction for more than 24 hours or so, then you're doing pretty well. The other scenario are these new sprayers, and there's different types of sprayers that are available. There is an enterprising fellow that I've come across who has basically built a little sprayer unit that he zip ties to the side of the inflatable swimming pools, or not the inflatable ones, but the ones with the small frame. That all it basically does is it creates a diversion from the pump, from the circulation pump, so that it basically puts it through literally PVC parts that are a value, I kind of priced it up as about 35 dirhams in all. And it can cool up to 6 degrees less than the standard temperature, which is really good. But the problem is, it's 550 dirhams for the privilege, you know? I'm all making a bit of a margin, but that one's quite spectacular. Yeah, I'll even give you a bit of ingenious, but you know, the pictures that you showed, I could be knocking those out 20 a day, but I'm not, and he is, so fair enough. So he's doing great business right now. There are also, for proper pools, there are basically jet extensions that work really well for exactly the same thing. Dragon Mart is totally sold out right now, which is an indicator of the time, but they are available. And what these do is basically jam into the jet points that you've got on your swimming pool and have an additional jet that goes above the water level to create a spray. So basically, it's evaporative cooling. And again, if you do this with multiple points in the pool, I think you've got about 6 in total on your average, 3 per side, then this really can create a massive reduction in temperature. But the reason for doing that is quite simple, which is a unit. So the traditional method, which would be an AC chiller that you're working with, is going to cost you the best part of 20,000 to install. And secondly, could be around 1,000 dirhams a month in DEWA charges. So
that's too much.
Investment. Exactly. For most people, that's quite an investment. So instead, 25 dirhams, I think it is, for each of these jets. You need 6 of them. So you've got like 150 dirhams or 20,000 plus 1,000 a month. I think I know which route I'd be going down.
Now, one of the ones that I'm always surprised at is why people aren't getting some metal barrier, some metal rods put in, some metal poles, and putting a shade over top of their pool, or at least part of their pool. Lots
of people are. That is a very, very good idea. Again, any shading that you can provide will reduce the temperature of the water. We do lots. There are new companies that are popping up all over the place doing sail shades right now for exactly that reason. And conversely, the best of the budget brands, as in the non-professional, which is Coolaroo, is
Coolaroo.
Coolaroo, yeah, that's it. Is totally sold out for the main sand color that everybody wants in the UAE. So actually, I've donated one spare I had to a dear friend of mine because you can't get them for love nor money. I think I could trade that for vehicles.
Well, and this is the other side, right? Because I was looking for some bromine tablets the other day, and I actually have to come out your way because right at the road that you turn on to, who knows what the name of the streets are? They keep changing the names. But right where you turn to come into Alcoa's by your office, by the towers, there's a big pool supply place.
Mac Pools, that one?
Yeah.
Mac?
I think that's what they are.
The one opposite the old, what's it called? So the same turning to get into us there. On the left-hand side.
Yeah.
I know the one you mean. I just can't remember its name. Yes.
No.
They are good. There's now there is a website for getting all that kind of stuff. It might be attached to the same outfit, but it's one of my fellow British dads that runs that, and they've got a really good website apparently for all pool items, and they deliver, I believe, as well. So Knock me up.
I need to find some bromine tablets. So I gotta see if we can't get that sorted.
Right, I will have a quick look for you and see whether or not he has bromine tablets, and I'll send you his link anyway, so that way you
beautiful. And it's how you notice that a lot of this stuff is really selling. Like you said, the sand-colored shades, pool things, because you go to your usual place to buy that stuff. And I mean, it's very easy to get this stuff. I go in to get it. No, we don't have any. So do you have anything? Nothing. It's like, what? Yeah. They're going, I don't even have chlorine for you. I'm going, what? What do you mean you don't have chlorine? Sold out.
Yeah. Well, the other side of things is, thank goodness now the pools are starting to open. Or public pools are starting to open. The one across the road from us is open again now. And I'm pleased to say that everybody's been very sensible indeed. So been over there with the kids a couple of times already. And, it's just lovely. It's just to be able to get in some sensible temperature water when it is just so humid and more than hot outside. Yeah. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that.
It's the morning walks are even getting a little bit warm these days. If you're up, I mean, you take your dog out for a walk at 6 o'clock in the morning, that humidity is already kicking in. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this morning was quite good, actually. We were out, I'm out a bit late. I think it was about 10 past before, trying to catch Rolo. He loves going out or being out, but he doesn't like, that's it. He loves being out. He doesn't like going out. So therefore, as soon as the lead comes out, which is the exact opposite of Bailey, he darts straight away into his bed and literally lies upside down. So that way I can't get the harness on anyway. What about you? What time are you normally out?
I kind of get rustled up at about 5:45. We probably get out of the house at about 6 o'clock and go for a little.
You run though, Dave. Do you run?
Yeah. We're doing a run. It's quite fun.
Oh, cool. I am hugely impressed. I mean, it's never going to happen. Don't get me wrong, but I'm extremely impressed that you keep that up.
And fortunately the dog likes to trot around. So it becomes an issue in the afternoon when you kind of go for that afternoon walk and you're not doing a run. The dog gets out the gate and he wants to go for the run. He's looking back. He's like, aren't we going? Like, why are we going so slow? Like, this is no fun.
It's utterly awesome. Is he settling in as well as he started?
Yeah. Absolutely. And what we've discovered is that this Labrador is a bird dog in the DNA because his sole goal is to catch birds, but he does not kill the birds. Oh. He just brings them to you.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Bailey, the gun dog, so literally trained for it, and he would point, and then he would absolutely go for it in the same way, but usually got quite confused when he got close, especially if he did get close, which was very rare. But one time he caught a duck, and he got all the way down. Thought, oh no, he's going to murder it. He gave it a lick on the head and then ran off. It was like, what kind of gun dog are you? Bless him. Thank goodness. But it was a very all we do.
What can we do? What can we do? That's the thing. I often think about these pets, and that's a whole other side. We've got a nice fan set up outside because sometimes we're outside and we're doing some stuff, and then the dog comes out and it's just hot. So we've set up a blower fan that the dog can sort of stand in front of, and he's savvy enough to know that when he's hot, I can stand in front of that fan. So it's kind of nice.
We've got so many air leaks out of the dodgy windows of the current place that he just sits in the right place, the other side of a window. It's one of those jobs that, I haven't got round to doing. And then it was odd because before Rolo came along and after Bailey unfortunately passed, we had a couple of cats that adopted us. And they both loved sitting in that same spot. So we kind of liked the fact that they were never house cats. They were never coming inside. But we kind of liked the fact that we were providing a nice bit of cooling for them. And they sat together there for hours on end. Which, when you're missing one dog and not quite ready for another is quite soothing, actually. So it did its job.
This is a huge issue that we all face, though, with leaky windows. That, when you take some of the northern hemisphere countries farther north than us, where you're losing heat from that, but we lose a lot of cooling. And as you said, you just haven't gotten around to doing it. But man, I see it with doors and windows. It's pretty horrific, the amount of cool air that's just getting thrown away.
Yes, it's also, I mean, the quality of the windows here is not wonderful. We've probably got, ours were originally not bad, but they're now, I don't know, 16 years old, I would guess. And as a result, over time, they've kind of just, the seals have got all dried out, and we just haven't spent the time on it, to be honest. You know, they're very good double glazing, so that works pretty well. But also the other one is there's a number of cables that other people have obviously had coming in and out. Normally it was the old style satellite systems, wasn't it? They used those. Yeah. It never got filled, which actually is providing a nice roll like down the door for the animals to chill out with. But you have that. But then aluminium, again, they never really seal particularly well when you have aluminium windows. So there is a lot of leakage that happens here in the UAE. And also, of course, through AC and the fans, we are pushing air around the room, and by its very nature, it is looking to escape. So, yeah, it is a big problem here.
Is it easy to fix the rubbers? You know, when I look at the double glazed windows we have and I see that there's sort of rubber seals and things, is it easy to fix those or get those replaced, or is that a whole mammoth task?
No, it all depends on the frame itself and how it's being mounted. They're not as standard as people might think.
Really?
And then if you try and find the original manufacturer, then you're doing really well. Yeah. If that original manufacturer is prepared to come out and replace your seals or have them in stock, you're doing it even better. And physically to get them to your house with the correct seal, fit the correct seal, charge you correctly and leave is just unheard of. So on that basis, what should be a nice, easy job turns out to be an absolute nightmare.
I see a lot of folks who are doing some renovations around us, and they're just replacing the windows. Like, I don't see them fixing anything. They're taking them right out and putting new stock in. And I often think
that's what I would do on that place. And again, they're not ridiculously old windows. I think about the ones that I had fitted as a child in my mum and dad's house, which are still there now. You know, one sort of hardwood windows that were installed in probably the mid 80s. And are still there, 35 years later? Yes, and still totally sealed. You're not going to get a water leak out of those. And yet, for some reason in Dubai, we don't seem to have such an effective system yet.
It's got to be the heat, the concrete, and the aluminum, and the rubbers, and all of that going together. It seems to me that all these materials like cold, but they don't like hot. So... It's
also that expansion and contraction, which doesn't work particularly well, and rubber absolutely hates heat and UV. So you've got that worst case scenario, I think, of combination of environmental factors.
You know, the other one that I'm noticing a lot of folks, I've been to a few places now, and they've got the old locks and things, and the locks aren't quite going. You got to kind of jiggle the door around, and it's whether the doors have gone off alignment or who knows what, but you must experience this once in a while as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so two different scenarios. It's either, the great one on the front door is a door that expands and contracts. Wintertime is always a good one. We used to have a front door that was just used to soak up all the water. And then at that point, you couldn't get anywhere near it. It was so far off. So we just used the main chain lock and a chock against it to keep it closed. But the point is, there's no point in that situation. If we shaved that door down, then as soon as summer came, we'd have huge, enormous holes in the door. So you just can't win on that one. So we tried resealing it, but water will always find a way in winter anyway. So it was quite frustrating, that one.
I find these whole lock mechanisms just crazy, and like you say, the shifting and stuff. And as soon as you get a file in there and start working on the plate, inevitably, you just create way too much room, and I just don't understand.
Yeah, that's where these days our boys actually do quite a lot of this.
Really?
One of those jobs that's just like that extra. Oh well, there's another 15 minutes left on the hour. I don't suppose you could have a look at X, Y, and Z. So that happens quite a lot. And the boys actually are very adept at sorting that. But the key is literally just not to go like a bull in a china shop at it, and literally just take a little bit off at a time. And ideally, if it is a striker plate that's got the issue, just even a loosening off of the screws with just slight readjustment can often be enough just to get that catch to hold. So, sometimes the more gentle touch is the right way forward.
It's amazing that just these little things that can become really annoying as you start looking around, the latches on doors, the striker plates, the ceiling around the windows. It's just these little annoyances that ultimately, if you get someone to come in, I guess this is when you talk about the essential maintenance crew, when they kind of come and do their inspection, these are all the things they're looking at, aren't they?
Yes, absolutely. They've got a check sheet for all of this kind of stuff. And it's a simple reason, which is part of the job that you need to do when you come onto any annual maintenance contract is to have a defect-free property. So there aren't legacy issues that are being dealt with, because at that point, all of the labour is on your annual maintenance provider. So it's very important that inspection is done correctly from the company perspective to make sure that all of those defects are fixed before it comes onto contract.
When the inspectors are coming out, are there common things that they often see, Colin, as they're looking around and say, this is a defect that we see all the time, and it's beyond at this point what you're going to contract for. We need to fix it first. Are there things that you see often?
Sink leaks are the normal one.
We've
spoken about it before, which is the issue is that the pipe is the imperial system, and the actual sink waste is normally metric. So the bodge is just to shove a little bit of silicon around it, which obviously will shrink over time. And at that point, it leaks. But it then leaks into the cupboard, often behind the backboard of the cupboard, creating a very stinky mess that you've always wondered why that bit kind of smells under there. And you blame it on the little rag that's been there for quite a while. But then when you take the little rag out, it's just as bad as it always was. And by that time, you've got a very significant leak on your hands. So we see that frequently. That's a standard one. Water heater leaks as well. The early stages before it's gushed through your ceiling is a frequent one. People who've left windows open when they've got the ACs running, and hence the condensation drips right away down the vents, is one we have to look at very closely to see if it's anything more sinister. So all these kind of things are bread and butter.
Man, those sound like such basic things. Keeping your eye underneath the sink, doing a quick visual inspection of your water heaters instead of waiting for it to be, tumbling off the ceiling. I mean, I say it's common sense. Do I do it? No. Should I do it? Yes.
The founding thing is I almost have a sixth sense where actually it would just so happen, wouldn't it, that just before we're moving out, I've had lots of things that have failed recently, which is kind of odd because we are really on with the maintenance of our place. But I have this sixth sense now. I can hear the smallest drip that sounds different. You must be the same in your place after, 21 years now, isn't it?
Yeah, so 20 years. 20 years.
Don't you? You know something that doesn't sound normal. So I can pick up on most things really quickly, as I'm sure you can too. So whilst we might not be inspecting it, we kind of don't need to because we've got our sixth sense acting perfectly well.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't want stuff breaking. That's the key. And here's a great one. You're going to love this. A friend of ours just is assembling a nice little toolbox and invested in a titanium hammer.
Titanium hammer?
Yes.
What's the benefit?
It looks cool.
Does titanium rust? I can never remember.
I don't think titanium rusts.
Well, that's great in itself. Is it like a one piece? I love one piece hammers.
Yeah, it is. It looks kind of reminds me of a Viking battle axe. It almost, when I was looking at it, I almost thought, is this a roofing hammer? Because I only saw pictures of it. It kind of had that roofing hammer look to it, a little bit more than a ball peen hammer.
Like a more curved and longer tail on it.
Yeah.
I've got one of those, and I love mine. But again, literally one piece. I like stainless, so I like a steel hammer because I know what I'm doing with a steel hammer. But to have it stainless means that it's not going to rust when inevitably I forget about it and leave it on the lawn for that one night when the irrigation's off. Come back to it, normal hammer. Oh, great, the whole thing's rusty. Can you ever get it back? No, you can't. Stainless steel hammer. Nice. A little bit of residue on the handle, and that's it. Exactly the same hammer. Bingo.
I think I'm still using an old Stanley hammer, wood handle, steel head, 30 years old. And, the thing just works. It is just, and I think it was a stainless steel head, actually.
Yeah, it will be. It will be that age. My dad has a very, very similar one as well. The one problem is when we started up Jim Will Fix It back in the day, I only had that as a one option that I was going to buy. And unfortunately, they are nothing like what they were from that era.
Really?
His must be from the 70s, and we've got some from my great uncle that are from the 30s and 40s, and they're just incredible. Incredible tools. They're never going to break. But yeah, modern day ones, no, totally different. They've all been cost reduced. And, we were snapping the handles inside all 3 months. They were no use to us. So hence, that's why we now go single piece, absolute solid.
It's pretty incredible when you go buy a Speedex or an Ace and you just look at the old hammer rack, the variety. And again, what are you looking for? And what do you got? And what are you going to use it for? And how is it weighted? And all hammers are not the same.
No, they're not. And also, more expensive hammers do not mean better hammers as well. This is often the case with tools. You basically really need to understand what you're looking at. And everybody thinks, it's a hammer, but you're absolutely right. Each one's totally different. And, when you're looking at it from a perspective of I'm going to buy 30 of those, you'd be amazed how much detail you can actually find on a hammer to work out whether or not it is going to last the length of time you need.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm looking at the clock here, Colin, and I know that it's the afternoon at our time. And I know you've got stuff to do. I think we might have to wrap up this podcast. And we didn't get in our 10 minutes with Colin today.
Oh, apologies. Next week it will be back on form.
But it has been absolutely fantastic. Colin Thomas from WeWillFixIt Dubai, Essential Maintenance Dubai, the WeWillFixIt podcast, everything you want to know but we're afraid to ask. And hey, you know what? If you got more questions, get in touch with us, podaholics@gmail.com. And of course, we will follow us on the socials, podaholics with a K. It's easy to find us. And we love to hear what you think. I don't know how you're listening to us, but we know that you are. So rate us. Give us some love. Give us some comments. We're going to do it all again real soon. Colin will be back for another episode of what has surely been yet another epic listening experience with We Will Fix It right here on Podaholics. There we go. Woohoo!